So I really I'm going to put this on this one on stir. Speed 1 would be fine too, right? But it's not plugged in. Plug that in, please. There should be one over here. Maybe on this side. It's on this side here. This is not for a specific amount of time. Just make sure there's enough time on here for it to happen, right? But you'll stop it on your own. Just watch it. So the auto lace is just this. Stir. It could be speed 1, but we're not really trying to make gluten here. We're just trying to get the flour wet so that the gluten can make itself. In chemistry, we call it kinetics. And the theory of kinetics, kinetic molecular theory, is basically chemical reactions occur because things bump into each other, right? And so given time, reactions will happen no matter what. We can increase that by increasing pressure or temperature or things like that. But can someone give me a rubber spatula, please? Thank you. I'm gonna let this go. I'm gonna actually do it on one. It'll be a little faster. There, that's good. Now, tell you what, we can speed this up even more. So, cover that with plastic, right? Next comes the flour, or not the flour rather, but the salt. So y'all can scale that in just a second. Come here.
So this is straight dough method?
Did I say salt in there? I did that wrong. I got that backwards. I'm all messed up. Y'all, it's gonna be okay today though. That should have been yeast, not salt. But instant yeast can go with the salt, it doesn't matter. Go ahead, flour. I'm all messed up now.
Flustered a little?
A little now, it's okay.
Alright.
All of the flour.
All the flour? Chicken or flour?
That's bread flour.
And then everything else after the flour.
Yes, sir.
Have we found this dough hook yet?
Why is that one different from all the others?
What do you mean? Why is what different?
The mixer.
It's bigger, that's all. Have we found this dough hook? Oh, good. So that's fine. Usually on these other ones, we want to spread it around a little bit, right? So if I would have told them correctly earlier, it would have been yeast with it, and we'd be putting the salt up here now with this sugar, right?
How much of butter?
It's on the formula. I don't remember how many grams it is. I don't remember how many grams of any of this is. It's all in the formula, though. Butter needs to be soft. You don't want chunks of butter in this. Our eggs, not everything.
That's it.
Where'd that dough hook go? No, that one's the small one. I need the big one. if I remember correctly, it's 3 minutes and then 4 minutes. Is that right on the formula for mixing? 3 minutes at speed 1 and 4 minutes at speed 2, maybe 5. So some formulas will tell you to mix all at one speed, like at speed 2. And that's okay. I usually don't though. For me, I usually mix a little bit.
1, 3 minutes and speed 2.
How many?
Speed 1, 3 minutes and speed 2.
3 minutes on that one too? Okay. I like to mix on low speed all the time, for a little bit at least, because it's good for distributing the ingredients. Speed 2 is good for developing gluten. If I need to develop more gluten, I'll mix it longer at speed 2, but I always mix it a little bit at 1 first. That doesn't mean the other formulas that tell you to do it all at medium are wrong, right? It's just the way I like to mix bread.
This is what you used to.
Not just what I'm used to. To me, I get better results. It just won't distribute correctly. It'll leave chunks of butter instead of mixing the butter into it. And we're not looking to make those sorts of layers that would happen if it were like that. Come off more like a biscuit. Bench flour. This is probably, it's okay. Okay, so when we're folding, there's generally 2 reasons to fold in the middle of fermentation. One, this is not something we usually do in this class, but one is to just degas it because we know that it's going to be fermenting longer. And the other reason is to develop the gluten some. So I need you to pick up that side. Kind of support it like this, right? And then we're going to pick it up. And then down. Again, see how this is stretching it out, doing it like this? And we're going to fold it over this way. And we do the same thing. Fold it like that and then kind of roll it. See how it's smoother? Y'all can see it's smoother and it's stronger when we do that. Some doughs are going to get more than one. This is the only one this is going to get, right? Yeah.
How much do you need?
Just, yeah, well, put it in a container, bowl or something. It's as much for y'all as it is for me. I'm not going to need it now. Well, we're doing rolls, but all that always depends on what size you want to make it. If you get one really big loaf, right? I don't think I want a 12 kilogram loaf. but you could. Okay, so this can go back in the proof box with the label out. But give me that. There was a Sharpie sitting over there. The way that it's easy to work. So we're going to turn this out onto a little bit of flour. Generally speaking, if you're having to round by hand, you're not going to want it floured there. And then the amount of flour you put down on your bench really is a reflection of how sticky your dough is, right? I mean, if you've got a really stiff dough, it's going to require less flour to keep it from sticking. Does that make sense? If you've got a very wet dough, it's going to take more flour. It's a general rule, you want to keep things covered while you're working with them, unless you're able to work really super fast, which I doubt y'all are going to be able to do. So keep things covered, right? In this case, what is it supposed to be? 1,500 grams is what I said? So let's make sure. Yeah, so in this case we're doing 1,500 gram portions. It's always easier to portion from this than it is to try to carve out bits from a big piece, right? So cut strips, and then 1,500 grams. That's about 3 pounds. Close. Always cut, don't tear. Okay? That's really super important. Then you want to keep it in order. I'm going to let y'all finish this, right? But I'm going to do one more so I can y'all be set up for that. If you have more than one person working, it's good to have one person maybe portion and another person round or things like that, right? If you're within 10 grams, I'm okay, right? If you're going to err on the side of having a little too much rather than too little. Now, to round big loaves like this or larger portions, if you're having to put pieces like that, get them pushed up inside, right? And then bring it together into a ball. It'll create kind of a seam when you do that at the bottom, right? Turn that seam to its side. Cup your hand over the seam and applying pressure, roll it, kind of a curved motion, and then slide it back. That pressure, you can see it's kind of starting to tighten it up. And it's not going to take a lot. Take 3 or 4 times, right? And then you do it in order. You do it in order so that the stuff that's the most relaxed gets worked first. Does that make sense? So, again, take it. This is really, let's go ahead and get this covered. If you can get the film for me while I'm doing this. When you're working with braids, so when you do challah later, next week maybe, I think, it's better to work with it a little under fermented than it is too fermented because it takes longer to deal with. So you see how I did this? Right? That's how you're going to do larger loaves. If you're one of the teams using the divider rounder, and really there's only 2 or 3 teams doing it, so not everybody does. You're going to dust that with flour after these are rested, right? You'll dust that with flour, and then you'll roll these out. You can push them in your hand. It's easier though with a rolling pin, right? To come to where it's almost coming up to the circle that's described by the outer ones, right? Almost to the end, but doesn't have to be perfectly because it'll compress and move to the ends. And when you do that, you'll dust it with a little bit of flour, and then we'll go and do the divider rounder. I'll show you that, right? So before you do that, these need to rest, you know, a good 10, 15 minutes. Use that time to finish dividing, right? And then keep them in order. So 1, 2, 3, I'd go 4, 5, 6, I'd move it like that, right? You don't need that much space, but keep it all covered. Keep these covered too, right? And the next, everything covered as it is. Fully extended. And because sometimes we're not able to see exactly how much they like judge doubled, right? Perfectly. So flour a finger and then tap it. Okay, now see when I tap that, see how quickly it springs back? That means it's not fully extended. It will hold the dimple if it's as extended as it's going to be, right? So you want it not to spring back, right? So later on, you'll be able to see it'll do that and it'll be ready to bake at that point.